It's that time of the year again where Disney graces us with their live action remakes that no one asked for. And although this isn't the worst live action remake they have made in recent times, there is no surprise why it's flopping in the box office, as Moana's animated version is only 10 years old, not to mention that its sequel was only released quite recently. So audience fatigue is at an all-time high, and not just with the movie of Moana, but with its actors, or actor, I should say, as many people, including myself, are overseeing The Rock play himself in every single movie he's in. And it's crazy to think that even in this, where all he has to do is play a character he has already voiced, he still felt the need to erase the last part of what makes Maui Maui and turn the character into another version of himself. Like in the original, I think he gets away with it because the animators really helped balance The Rock's persona. But in the live action, we don't have that. It's just The Rock. And in no point in time that I was watching this movie did I feel like he was Maui. And now the wig. Oh my god, the wig is terrible. It does not suit his face at all. But what's worse is the muscle suit they put him in. I am 99% sure that he couldn't properly move in this thing, especially when it comes to anything movement related to his legs. I don't know if it was just because it was disproportionate or something, but even when he's walking, it just does not look right. And the overall construction of this thing wasn't even good. As what you've probably seen, they use his necklace to hide like the transition between the suit and his skin. But I swear, during the end of the movie, the necklace comes undone and you can see the end of the fake bodysuit. Having the muscle suit also cut off right at the necklace makes it quite jarring, the difference between his tattoos and the rest of his body. So it really does look unnatural. I know they wanted to give him that big demigod look, but I feel like just using The Rock's actual body and just painting on the tattoos would have been better. Not that it would have really saved this movie though, as there is an abundance of problems I have with it. And unfortunately, one of them is the actor for Moana. I felt a lot of her performances and line delivery were quite flat compared to the original, with many more supposedly emotional scenes feeling less impactful. For instance, when they first fail trying to get the heart to Te Fiti, there is this heavily emotional scene where Maui, driven by fear and anger, breaks Moana's confidence and faith in herself, which in the animation you can physically hear how hurt she is, as her voice is slowly breaking as she's talking.
Sail across the sea!
I'm not killing myself so you could prove you're something
and
you're not.
Restore the heart of Te Fiti! The ocean chose me!
Which is nothing like it is in the live action. The scene is just so much less heartbreaking. I also felt she lacked the screen presence she needed for this strong character, as I felt a lot of the time in the beginning I was more drawn to the extras than I was to her, which is kind of a problem for a movie where most of the time there's only 2 actors on the screen. But I also want to point out that some of these things aren't on her. The directors made a lot of small changes to the dialogue, which felt very out of character for Moana. Moana's supposed to be a very brave, strong-willed, and passionate person who speaks her mind. But we saw way less of this in the live action. For instance, in the animation, when they find out there's no more fish in the reef, she immediately says, "Why don't we go beyond the reef?"
I will talk to the council. I'm sure we could...
We fish beyond the reef.
But in the live action, they literally have a council meeting. And the grandma actually has to push her to say something, as she's much more hesitant in this movie, which just isn't who Moana is. But I didn't just have a problem with Moana, I had a problem with the whole cast, except for the actor for Moana's mother, as I felt she was the only one actually convincing. Not even her grandma felt right in this movie, as I felt her quirky and free-spirited nature felt more forced. She just doesn't have that charm that the animated version did, which unfortunately meant that when she passes away, it's not as impactful. Don't get me wrong, I was sad, but I just wasn't as sad. And I think the reason for this is just the weird line delivery, which is also a huge problem I had with Moana and Maui. The way they emphasize or actually don't emphasize like any of the words they're saying, make a lot of their lines come out very flat and monotone. Like when she's supposed to be sarcastic or sheepish, her pitch just doesn't change, so it doesn't come across the way it's supposed to. It also takes away the humor from the scene. For instance, if we take a quick look at a scene from the original.
You can't sail?
I am self-taught.
Do you notice how her pitch kind of rises as she says that? Because in the live action, this is delivered differently, which makes it a weaker scene, as well as changes how we see her. She's no longer a brave and a bit overambitious character, and instead feels overly rash and ignorant. And yes, Moana is a bit like that, but it's the way you portray her to the audience that affects the type of way you perceive it. Because in one way, she's cute and likable, and the other, she's annoying. And not only that, but when lines are delivered the same way over and over again, it gets tiring. And it's the same with Maui. I'm also not sure why after some jokes he has this deadpan look to him. Maybe he thought it was funny or something, but I just thought it was weird as he's saying something and then his face isn't moving. It's like he was doing the opposite of what Moana was doing at times. Like he would emphasize the right words, but then his face wouldn't match up to what he's saying. For example, this scene.
Boat snack!
Like this line is delivered pretty much the same way, but in the live action, The Rock just like doesn't move his facial features to match what he's saying. I don't know, it was just so weird as it felt so disconnected. But this can probably be said for like the whole movie, where nothing was as impactful as it was in the animated version. Like although Moana's actor can obviously sing, it just lacked in comparison to Moana's voice actor, who brought just so much emotion into her singing, which I just didn't get from the live action version. But I also hated this live action version of You're Welcome. I honestly can't even remember how he sang it in this version, as I feel most of the time he was just trying to flex his muscles, and I was way too distracted by how awkward it looked in the muscle suit, so let's just say it probably wasn't good either. And it's crazy to think that this movie had a higher budget than the animated version, yet looked so much cheaper. Which brings me to the worst part of this movie. The chicken. Hey, or whatever. It is so creepy and unsettling to look at. And for some bizarre reason, they decided to add more scenes with him in it. Like one of the best parts of probably this movie is when they sing Where You Are and they go through the village, as they're not just surrounded by CGI, so it felt so much more real. But it is ruined by this freaking chicken. It felt like he was in almost every shot. And I get that Hey was a very likable character in the original, but I think that also has to do with the fact that his screen time was very limited. In this one, he is not lovable or silly. He is creepy. I don't know if it's like the amount of wrinkles they put around his eyes or how big his eyes are, but I literally found him so disturbing. You know what? Like most of the animals in this movie are creepy. Like I really also didn't like the design for the crab. There's almost just like too much real detail they try to pack into this thing, but it still looks CGI, so then it just gives off this eerie appearance. Both of their designs are just so unsettling to the eye. And I also thought the realm of monsters felt very lackluster. I don't even think they like climb this whole mountain or anything, they just go into the jungle and it's the opening's there. And they also just completely change how the scene plays out. Like when she's acting as bait, it's like really drawn out for some reason. And anytime these like CGI creatures come into contact with the actors, it looks super weird. Like even when they're fighting off the coconut pirates at one point, there's just such this disconnect between the two, which just makes it look so much less real, which is kind of ironic because it's supposed to be the live action version, and how they're always going on about how it's supposed to be more realistic. And that's why everything is just so desaturated and lifeless. Which I have to say this movie doesn't have to such a degree as like The Little Mermaid, but it still is there and making everything feel so much less magical. I really don't understand these remakes that are pretty much shot for the original, and any changes they do make end up just being worse than just leaving it alone, Because what's the point in watching this lesser version of a story when you can just watch the original, which is so much better? Anyway, those are my thoughts on the live action of Moana. What are your thoughts, feelings, and emotions on the movie?